Hello, baby, this morning. This is Elio Piedra. Another morning means another coffee because this is morning coffee with Elio. It's going to be a great day. We have a fantastic guest. Get up, baby, this morning. This is Elio Piedra. Another morning means another coffee because this is morning coffee with Elio. Today, we are hosting, in collaboration with our Greater Gainesville Chamber of Commerce family, our first business conference. And we have a wonderful, wonderful lineup of guests and business owners that they are going to help us create ideas so we can overcome these times, creating strategies and bringing value to our community. And we would love to introduce them. And we have Lori Martin, Board of Directors of Oaks Jewelry and co-owner of Smart Stone Countertops. We have also Becky Raymond, co-owner of Serve Pro, Alachua County. We have also Mary Lee, owner of Independent Dance. We have Tammy Branson from Branson Real Estate Group. We have John Dar Shaco Insurance, and we are very, very honored, humble, and we have the privilege to have Eric Godet, CEO and President of Greater Gainesville Chamber of Commerce. Let's bring them over. How you guys doing this morning?
We're great.
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 Awesome. I think we actually had someone, Becky. We have Becky waiting, almost here. Yes. Welcome, Becky. Welcome, everyone. So yeah, so I would like to start with my first question. But before I do that, I would like to actually mention a beautiful quote that I've been reading this morning. And the quote is: "Crisis is a time of intense difficulty, requiring that will be a turning point. The first responsibility of the leader is to find reality. Every crisis in history had passed, and good times, unfortunately, will also pass." This is a quote by John Maxwell, and that's the reason we're here to help with this crisis and collaborate with our amazing community. And my first question today will be for Eric. Eric, how you doing, my friend, this morning?
Good morning, Elio.
Thank you so much for being here and for supporting, for keep supporting our community, our great against the Chamber of Commerce family. You guys have been awesome, fantastic as always. And as a proud member and diplomat of our Chamber of Commerce, we have the the privilege to have you here. And I would like to ask you, Eric, what is the financial impact that this crisis is having in our business community, and what are we doing to keep the development and the growth that we have in 2019?
Okay, thank you, Elio. I'll definitely jump right into that. Absolutely right. We are coming out of one of the most successful periods in the history of our community. We're looking at it as a state, as Alachua County. We were having record growth, record number of employment. We were watching our local businesses add 100 new jobs per week. It was really the best of times, the lowest unemployment we've ever experienced here, and a lot of excitement throughout our area. We are considered the state third most populous state in the country. We're creating 1 in every 11 new jobs throughout the country. You know, our economy was growing, our diversity in terms of those jobs are growing. And so with this, you know, we were really focusing on how we could become more diversified as a county and state, as opposed to any kind of retraction. So since the COVID-19 event has happened and our shutdown of our schools and our community, this really taken on a new level of that we have to look at. And so this includes our community, our county, our city, all of our businesses. And so as we're spending last week and this week really focusing on how to reopen Florida, it's really important for us to make sure we're being very strategic about this. And so with that, we want to return to those numbers, but we know to do that, we have to change the way we do business. So you've heard me in the past talking about we're watching these shifts that are coming in our economy, and we're there about 5 years away. Well, you know, watching all of our kids studying in school right now, they're in their online learning. Online learning has jumped tremendously. And so online businesses have jumped tremendously. So when we look at this, how do we recover as a community with a local county and city and with our 8 municipalities within it? We're really concerned about our tax receipts. So 20% of our tax receipts come from tourism, you know, and a lot of the general revenue that we have throughout our state comes from sales and use taxes. And, you know, part of our challenge is we also have to look at our population. You know, I think it's 21% of our population is 65 years age or older. And we know when we look at reopening Florida, we have to consider all of these impacts in addition to the impact that, you know, in June, we start our hurricane season. So how do we prepare? How do we roll out our opening? How do we do it in a smart way? And so later on, I'm glad to go into more of that, but I will share with you some of the probably top 5 industries that we've seen impacted in our community and that we would like to, make sure that we are putting programs in place to help jumpstart them as soon as we reopen them. So the first one, I would say, really, accommodations, food, tourism, that kind of tie-in. Then we look at retail. We also look at construction. We look at administrative type jobs, and then recovery in sports. And healthcare is always a huge component, but it's in that order. And tell people this, they're like, well, what does that really mean for me? Well, I said, well, what it really means is if we look at what's done well, what's done poorly. So our largest tax receipt in Alachua County and in the state of Florida comes from automobile sales. And they've taken a huge hit. Now, our largest increase from a general business type thing would be our food stores. They've taken a huge advance and grown and with the amount of food they sell, but they're one of our lowest areas in terms of tax receipts. So these are some of the focuses we're going to have to look at to help launch and get our community back on track.
So I am glad that you mentioned different programs to support our business community, because one of my next questions it is if we have a leadership or mentoring program available right now, so business community can get into it, and can ask for help and assistance in different ways. For example, we are in times where social media is key element to keep our brand alive and relevant, especially in the market out there. So is there a leadership and mentoring program already available so our business community can get that help?
Sure. There are a lot of different programs that are out there, but what we have been encouraging and seeing, and I really give our community a lot of credit. So in 2019, we were awarded the probably top giving community in the state of Florida and our county. And I'm not surprised, because one of the biggest things I've seen is the generosity of our community. I've watched other businesses reach out to help and support and mentor and guide and give certain groups and companies what they need now. I'm watching individuals do the same thing. But I think with that needs to expand, and we probably need to create a more formal process. But more importantly, I think what's happening right now, the dialogue, because when we mentioned that we're in a unique state. So what we're saying is that there's certain areas in Florida that have a high volume of positive cases, and then we have some that barely have one. And so if we're going to look at restarting our economy, there are probably three key areas that I really want to talk about that I really think makes a huge difference. And I'm so excited that the governor is looking at that, is how do we recognize the risk so that we get certain groups back sooner? So let's say we're in a county that has a very low number, maybe only one positive case in there, your risk is much lower. But then there are also other levels of looking at risk, is also types of businesses. So what the governor's task force is doing, they're breaking out the different risk levels from low, medium, and high risk so that we can help focus and bring the tools to the low and medium companies to get those out sooner and provide them the resources and requirements that come from the guidance of industry sectors. Does that help? And I really think in combination of us working together and those who have the ability to help guide and help others through this transition makes a difference. But it's going to take a lot more mentorship programs, a lot more collaboration. We have some great programs in our community, but we're going to need more.
Thank you so much for answering that. And you mentioned taxes. And there is a very important question that I have, and I would like at this point to interact with all of our, amazing guests. And by the way, you guys are looking so beautiful on camera. Oh my gosh. Um, so I have this question for you guys, since Eric just mentioned taxes. So some businesses, they have utilities to pay, all right, and there is such as electricity, water, all of that. So is it possible for the city to pause these expenses, especially for small businesses, or to help with sale taxes in this crisis? So every single business is different, and every single county is different as well, depending on taxes, related to taxes. But do you think the city of Gainesville will be able to help with sales taxes and with these utility bills, especially in these times of crisis?
So Elio, is that for me or the committee or the panel?
Oh, that's for you. That's for you.
All right, perfect. All right, well, I'll definitely jump in. Well, I will really give the city of Gainesville a lot of credit. They're giving a lot of thought on how to restart our community. It's a tough time for them, but I found the mayor, all of our elected officials, especially staff in both the city and the county, to be very welcoming and warm to hear what our business community has to say. And so just to share what's a really incredible program that if you saw anything on TV the other night, they're looking at a program called Gainesville Cares. And with this program, they're looking at supplying relief to a lot of the business. And so they're going to come up with an application process, and they're going to come through a grant to offset a lot of costs such as rent, utilities, etc. And it can probably be used to offset the taxes, but it wasn't specifically targeted to only taxes, but it's really to provide relief to our local businesses. And so this is to assist any small business or any operation that's seeing their infrastructure curtailed due to this. And so they're trying to be very engaged to make this happen, and very deliberate and very thoughtful on how they can maximize the money that they have. I think they shared on the meeting last week, they have about 2.5 million within themselves that they can use toward. And I think they're hoping on the passage of 4.0 that would bring more relief to the cities, so that legislative standpoint, nationally, more funds. But I think everyone's trying to think of the most effective way to help our local businesses survive throughout this, and try to help as many of our local businesses survive during this transition also.
Love to jump in if that's okay, Elio. Everyone, I think
thank you very much for that.
Any short-term assistance is fabulous and is appreciated by every business member who needs it. There's no question, but the problem is that money has to keep coming from somewhere, and it only goes so far. So if our focus isn't on actually keeping these businesses alive and generating revenue, then that's just 1 month of survival. That's not the next year and the year after that. And the scariest thing, I think, for our community specifically, is looking at the student population, which is huge, not returning to our community to bring that much needed revenue that they normally bring into our area. So not only do we have to survive the crisis, but we have to survive it without a huge portion of our population. So now more than ever, we all have to look at everything we do and figure out how we can do it locally, how we can do it here, how we can buy everything and support everyone we can in our community. That way we keep our money circulating within instead of, going outside.
That is awesome. Thank you very much, Laurie, for sharing that. I have a question for our committee here. And I would like, each one of you to share what is the biggest challenge that you are facing right now in your business, and how are you guys, what is the strategy that you guys have to overcome this obstacle? And let's begin with Tammy.
So the biggest challenge that we face right now is the ability to show homes. That's what our business is built on. And we're overcoming it we're doing virtual open homes. We're doing video tours. Like if we're doing photos of it, we'll go ahead and create the video tour at the time. We've got precautions in place to screen buyers that are looking to purchase a home, to make sure that if they really do want to get into a home, that they are qualified and that there's a need there, so we can protect the agents and the sellers as well. And then a lot of people are using this time that they're not out showing homes, that they're connecting with their customers, they're answering questions, because there's a lot of fear for a lot of people about the impact to them and what are they going to do. So being in their house so much right now, they're looking around and thinking, okay, well, what's my home worth if I'm one of the people in a position that's going to be required to sell?
That is awesome. And well, I guess realtors, I mean, your industry, you guys are basically showing houses virtually, and it's been very helpful and productive. All this Zoom and all these apps that you guys have been basically working on. So different tools that you guys been using to overcome the obstacle of showing houses in person.
That is correct. We're using Zoom is probably the biggest one, Google Hangouts as well. There's also Matterport is a way to map a house so that people can see the overall layout of it before they go there to make sure it's along the lines of what they're looking for. So we've really taken to the virtual world to start to continue to promote the products that are out there.
That is awesome. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you very much. So I would like to ask Mary Millie from Independent Dance. So, I mean, dancing is such a wonderful and unique art, all right? Part of the art, but you need to be there, right, at the studio to teach, to dance with each other, especially if you are practicing couples and all of that. So, how are you guys also using, these tools to keep going, keep working on your studio, and how is it working? How is it working with your clients?
Yeah, so just like you said, dance, especially for us, we serve so many families and children in the community. And it's definitely an in-person thing, much more fun in person, obviously. But since we closed on March 13th, we have over 50 live classes a week that we're offering to our customers. Everywhere from 2 and 3-year-olds are taking our online classes all the way up to adults. So that's what we've been doing. We've noticed a lot of, it goes both ways. Sometimes, we had a lot of kickback of, my 3-year-old's not going to take a ballet class through the computer. And then a couple weeks went by and they realized they're home and they don't really have much else to do for the whole, duration of the day. And they're like, man, I really wish I could take a dance class on my computer right now. So it's been hit or miss, but we've kept about 75% of our clientele. So I'm really proud of that, through just jumping in and taking action right away. And I think too, with all of the kids that have had a lot taken away from them, that's kind of my main focus is, they're not in school. They have to do all online school now. Their social lives are completely reduced, what they're used to. Their after school activities are all different. If they're not online, they're non-existent. So just trying to provide our clients with still an outlet of our services, even if it's not the same form, that's what we've been doing, at least trying to do.
That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mary. And let's get going with ladies, because I get lady first. So Becky, I would like to hear your voice.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me. I'm on my phone. I couldn't get on the computer.
Yes.
Our business is down a little bit, but fortunately or unfortunately, water damage and fires, they still happen even in times of crisis, unfortunately. So we're down a little bit, but we're doing okay. We're hanging in there. And to give our employees hours, I'm sure some of you may have seen it. We decided to work with the first responders and disinfect their vehicles for free. So that gave our employees hours, so we didn't have to cut their hours, which was kind of a win-win for both of us.
That is awesome. Yeah, I've been watching all different businesses and now I am gonna actually tell you guys the reason I am asking you this question. Thank you so much, Becky. Appreciate you. So we'll keep going with Lori.
Okay, so I've seen it twofold. So like my introduction, I'm involved with Oaks Jewelry. I also own with my husband Smartstone Countertops. So I've got the retail side and the construction side that I'm able to see. And it's very different because the retail side was affected immediately. The confusion, the fear, the unknown, how to serve safely, how to exist in this unknown. And I think you know, the group has really come together and found a way to offer online services as well as, you know, complying with the county regulations of one person in the showroom at a time. They've taken it one step farther and required everyone to wear a mask at all times. So consumer and staff are all wearing masks, all hand sanitizing before they come in. So really just reducing that risk, which I know, Eric, is what you were talking about. And I can't agree more. We can't go on in isolation. We have to go on figuring out how to reduce our risk. So they've kind of gone through the hard part of converting and are now operating well. I think on the construction side, we just, there were a lot of projects in process. So a lot of people have homes under construction, have remodeling projects going. So there was no option to stop. You know, it wasn't a choice. So I think what we see there is the fear of the future. You know, right now everything's okay. And because we're limited on, you know, not having huge exposure to large groups of any kind, it's really just a matter of what happens to the economy and the industry and what does business look like 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and a year from now for us. So not a lot has changed.
Oh, and you might want to have a little bit of common sense in the talk.
That is awesome. I hear a voice. I don't know who that was, but thank you, Laurie. All right, we'll keep going with John.
Thanks for having me, Leo. I appreciate it. We're seeing, you know, the number one thing that at first was to keep all of our folks healthy. So we sent them home and we can work remote because, you know, insurance is not necessarily a widget or, you know, a product that you can touch. That was our number one priority. And now the number one priority for us is trying to help the small businesses that are out there that are our clients. You know, we don't insure Walmart and Target and some of these big giant companies. They don't buy insurance from us. Their employees buy insurance from us, but the companies like that don't buy insurance from us. So what we've been focused on is trying to work with those small businesses, and whether it's adjusting the coverages or adjusting their estimates on payroll or deductibles or something, try to help them get through this time until they can either adapt and change the way they do business or survive long enough until we go back to doing, you know, whatever the business is that they do. So for us, it's really been doing everything we can to help small businesses out there in any way we can. You know, the insurance companies have come out and are refunding billions of dollars of premium to people because they're not driving as much. There's less risk of them getting in car accidents. And, you know, I'm proud of the industry for trying to do that as much as they can, because, you know, people aren't doing the things that they normally have done. So that the fact that the carriers will come out and refund some premium now, you know, a lot of times it's $50 or $100, or it's not a huge amount, but anything helps at this point for both personal lines and small businesses. So the unfortunate part is going into this, before this all started, insurance rates were climbing and drastically. You will see your homeowner's insurance rates go up dramatically in the next year. That was already in force. That was already in place before COVID even started, going back to November, December of last year. These carriers were paying out a lot more than they were taking in premium. And the legal culture right now is that there are what they call fee multipliers, and we were seeing, for example, a water leak claim in a house that costs $20,000. An attorney gets involved. We saw one that the attorney made $750,000 on. Well, the insurance company paid the $20,000 water leak claim, but then they also have to pay this $750,000 fee to this attorney. And, that affects everyone's rate. I mean, that has to pass down through, whatever. We've seen the title sponsor of the stadium in Orlando is roofclaim.com. Well, roofclaim.com is you just have to file a claim and get a new roof. Well, that's not good. For the industry as a whole, that will translate into higher premiums for everyone. So what we're seeing is it's almost the perfect storm of rates were going up prior to this whole thing starting dramatically. And now people are out of work. Their businesses are slowing down. All of this is happening at a just terrible time for both the industry and the average person, whether they be a business owner or just a homeowner. So it's really a dynamic change right now in the insurance industry that it's unfortunate, but it's happening. So what we're trying to do is, as an independent agent with many options, is getting as many people as we can help in one form or another with coverage or deductibles or whatever. So I was on a call, I guess last week, Thursday or Friday, with some GACAR, the real estate group, and I was talking about that a little bit. And it's a lot of people don't know yet, but when you get your homeowners renewal, you're going to see a significant rate hike, and it's not coming at a real good time. That's for sure.
Thank you for that, John. I really appreciate you for sharing the biggest challenge that you've been facing these times. And now I'm going to share my biggest challenge. Well, everybody knows that I love bringing the fiesta to people, and I am passionate about, watching people having fun. Guess what? We're still doing it. The biggest challenge has been like my industry is being devastated completely. My industry, the entertainment business, which include restaurants, even movie theaters, places like parks, they are closed. Venues. Venues include performing arts. Everybody. But I always said that we need to make a list of things that we cannot control, and another list by the side of that list with the things that we can control. And I think if we, as business owners, everything is about the decision making. We're decisive in times when we need it the most, or how we're spending our energy, our time, how are we collaborating with each other, how are we doing these events that we're doing right now, are we trying to learn from each other. So the main reason why I ask you guys this question is, number one, because I want to learn from all of it, as I'm sure our community is also appreciating the fact that we're doing this live. But the biggest challenge is not being able to connect, to connect in person with people. I've been doing my online fiesta, for example. That's how I've been trying to overcome that challenge. But at the same time, it's kind of hard because, for example, let's say Eddie was watching, but and then Eric got a call, and oh my gosh, and I gotta go. Probably I'm gonna go back to watch the video, the online fiesta later. So it is hard to connect with people because everybody's doing many different things. But at the same time, I always I really believe that we can always do more. And John was actually asking me before we started the event, Elliot, do you always been, dealing with these productions and everything? So, I always been into technology. I am a lover. I am a fan of technology. And since now I have the time to do it, I always wanted to do more, especially for our community to interact and keep going with the networking groups. I had this big question. our Greater Gainesville Chamber of Commerce family, it is a huge influence. It is the voice of the business community. And right now, we cannot have our business before hours or our business after hours of stuff like that. For example, so I came out with the idea of just trying to trick, I will say, these different programs so we can create like a little production and still keep networking groups, keep interacting with the community, keep asking questions, giving answers to the community. And I think it is a time where I am learning now more than ever about so many things. And one of the things that I am learning is that how important is your mindset, right? How important is to develop a sense of keep working constantly and intentionally every single day. I had an amazing interview the other day, actually conversation the other day, with a friend of mine. He's a business owner. We were talking about taking care of your stuff. All the business owner that they are laser focused on taking care of their staff, making sure that your staff know how grateful you are for them and how valuable they are for your business, for your community. That's one of the small details that make big difference right now these days. Because I mean, I know some businesses, they had to stop, paying, the payroll and all of that, unfortunately. But a lot of them, they've been doing a great job at keeping the payroll going and supporting their staff, and also especially because the amazing support that the government is being doing with the PPP plan, the PPP program. So that's basically that's my biggest challenge. It's been my biggest challenge, connecting with people in person. But we are working on overcoming that by creating not only entertainment online events, but also events that can keep our brand and our product relevant in these times. And that way, when all of this is gone, basically people, our clients, our community, our customers, they need to know that we're still here and that we are ready to serve. And now I would like to ask Eric a question, because there is some speculation about when we go back to normal, there is going to be a new normal. It's going to be very different. We need to adapt. I totally agree with that, but at the same time, there is a 20% of myself that is telling me, hey, have you heard that human beings, we're social animals? We need to socialize, we need to touch. I can't wait to hug you guys. So there is so many things that we need as human beings. So do you think it's going to be like, as people are speculating, that the new normal, or what? How is our Alachua County getting ready to go back to normal, and actually making that normal like real? From 1 to 10, what do you think? What do you think? How are we getting ready to get back to normal? And is that right that then it's going to be a new normal?
Okay, Elliot, I think that's an incredible question. And it's one a lot of us have been working with for quite some time. So looking at the past, we're not going back. It's very to 9/11. I'll give an example. Before 9/11, you could go into any sports venue, that kind of stuff. Nobody was searching bags. Nobody was looking at stuff. You didn't have all these requirements. You could use a ticket and come back in and out multiple times with your same ticket. Gone. That's not coming back. That's changed. Well, I look at what's happened with the COVID-19, the whole novel coronavirus scenario. I looked at certain cultures historically that have for years bowed instead of shaking hands. You look at monarchs and leaders, many times women would curtsy, men would bow. It's this kind of thing. You never got too close. Well, for us, this is the first time in our lifetimes we're dealing with an aerosol type virus, with proximity being a challenge and social distancing coming out and being a key component. So I'll give you some examples that I think is really smart. And I really love, I think it was Lori that mentioned earlier about how we transition when we come back. And it's very different for a retail organization versus, say, a construction team. And I do want to touch upon it because one of the biggest things we're focusing on is how do we fast track permits? Because for the last couple of months, we haven't gotten anything approved. And so that's creating a gap that we don't want to manifest itself 6, 12, 18 months from now and hit us financially from a great industry that provides a huge part to our tax base. Another component is going to be that we do have to recognize that as a community, as a state and a nation, we're having to pivot. And it's just like we did at 9/11. It's a huge pivot. And the reason we're pivoting is certain things are not, you can't put certain things back in the bottle. So online learning, for example, was growing anyway. All entities were trying to promote the Florida Virtual School even more. Colleges and universities were promoting their online programs even more. And now, instead of waiting 5 years, we've seen this shift dramatically within months. And so there's certain things that aren't going to go back. People were working from home more and more anyway, as opposed to in the office. And they could live anywhere around the world and work for a certain company. That's not going back. You're going to see some of it, but it's a transition that companies are going to realize they may not need as much square footage in their office or may not need so many people there, just have access for them to come to as needed kind of thing. We're going to look at changes that are going to jump exponentially sooner than they would have without this whole COVID-19. Another component that we need to embrace is awareness. We have awareness now on different hygiene type components that we didn't have before to the extent at the forefront of our mind. So it's funny. I mean, you know, I'm talking to businesses and neighbors and everything. Hey, everyone's taking their shoes off at the front of the door. Everyone's doing this. Hey, people aren't doing things they were doing before. And I don't think that's going to change. So with that, I, do say that we're going to have a new normal. We're pivoting to make our community, our businesses, everyone a lot safer than we were before. And I think it's the right thing to do. I think those who are huggers like myself, having to adapt during this period of time, and it may last longer, but I think there's a component we haven't talked about, and it's the testing. And it's not just the PCR testing that lets you know whether you have an active case of coronavirus right now, but it's really the antibody testing that provides several different levels of advantage for us. Antibody testing, and we're very fortunate that we're going to be moving in our community forward with this. And there's a lot of discussion right now because we happen to have locally one of the FDA tests that are out there and prioritizing. It's going to be with our first responders, our essential workers, those who are in the healthcare field, exposed, helping our nursing homes through that kind of process. But what's really neat is through the antibody testing, especially the complete tests, the tests for IgG and IgM, you will have the ability to know if you were exposed. So I'll give you some information. Came out a week ago that over 80% of the people in the world that have been exposed to the coronavirus had mild or no symptoms. So if that's the case and the virus has been around and we can get a confirmation from an antibody test that shows us that we've had that exposure and it was very mild or little that we didn't even realize it, that's comforting and getting you back to work. That's the next best thing to having a vaccine. So you're given that, helping people get through that new normal. So those would be individuals that are low risk to go back to work because they're not going to catch it. They've already had it and have proof that they've overcome it. So I think our normal is going to transition for quite some time, but we're going to come out just like we did with 9/11 with some definitive changes, from TSA checking all of our stuff, everything. There are going to be some definitive changes that are out there, but it's going to be a transition.
Eric, quick question for you.
Yes.
I'm gonna give a quick plug to our Shop Gainesville site that we are using to promote our local retailers and try to help people understand how they can shop with our local businesses. But there we saw a question come in on that site about the antibodies test and where to get that test. And I didn't have an answer for that question. So is there a place that someone can go right now? What are the fees associated with that test? Do you have any information?
So I do, but right now we're still working out logistics. And this is a combination because there are also requirements from a physician for these tests. And we're working to get certain waivers released so that we can expedite this. We received some of the antigens last week and we're getting some more this week. But we want to make sure we're very strategic first with key individuals that we feel have had greater exposure already, because there's a twofold component to this. Individuals that have had exposure to the COVID-19 and have antibody to this, they're also being used to get plasma from their blood so that we can help those critical patients survive the COVID-19. So the twofold approach, and we will be rolling all of that out. It is moving quicker than you can imagine. A lot of discussions been going on all over the weekend and last week, and we're just excited that the opportunity, the event, the level, it's approved by the FDA, that we have in our community. But as soon as we can release that information, we will. And but there are a lot of sign-offs and checks when you have this new technology, and it's very exciting that individual businesses in our community have been pushing and fighting to make this happen. I mean, we have an incredible university at University of Florida that they're doing a tremendous job bringing resources and minds and groups together. We're having groups from North Florida and physicians. We have incredible infectious disease specialists that work at both of those institutions, and also the VA that are helping us expedite this whole process. So we're really excited that, you know, we have resources, brain power, intellectual groups that are here coming up with solutions, just like we saw manufacturers that are shifting from creating drones to creating, you know, PPE that's essential, you know, throughout our community. So we're in the process, and believe me, as soon as we can, and it'll probably happen sooner than you can imagine. So continue to look out for the alerts and stuff, but we will be putting it out there. But everything's on a pilot scale right now, and we can't wait to just open it up. And thank you for that question. And yes, everyone, shop GNV. Hey, we're all about the buy local. Come on, please, everyone, let's support. Lori, thank you for that plug. We can get through this, but we do it together. It's through that support.
That is awesome. I am actually very glad that Lori is shouting out, because this is shout out time, baby. Hey, let me tell you something. I would like to shout out, number one, to our Greater Gainesville Chamber of Commerce, especially Eric. Thank you for being here. Steve Cannon and Sandy, they helped me to actually to make this event happening in all of you know, Chamber of Commerce family. Shout out to EGMB. You know, it is an amazing group, over 2,000 or 3,000 members. I think, I don't know how many thousand of members, but they've been helping a lot with local businesses, especially with restaurants, because they are having a very difficult time right now. Let's shout out to Colin Austin, dear friend Colin, with everything that he's doing. Pablo Casilimas also doing amazing events to keep the community well informed. And let's, you know, shout out to all of you guys for you know, for making the time to be here. Tammy, John, Mary, Becky, and Laurie, thank you so much. And you know, before we go, if any of you would like to add anything else to the community, would like to say anything else?
Just like to thank you, Elio. You've done a great job and really tried to help other small businesses in the community and promote other small businesses. Thank you for all you've done on that side.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve. I believe in the power of giving, so that's what I am supposed to do, I guess, right? You know, before we go, I would like to share with you guys, with the community, 16 revolutionary words that I learned from the Bible. And they are: do not be conformed to this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So it's going to be a new normal? Yes. We need to adjust to a transition? Yes. How we overcoming our obstacles, and are we going to overcome? Yes, we will. I think that we can always do more than we can ever begin to imagine, and especially this time, it is actually a proof that we can make it happen. And with the help of our Chamber of Commerce being the voice of our business community, we have now Shop Gainesville, EGMB, We have all these amazing business owners that we're helping each other. I think that when we are together, of course, we are stronger. So I would like to thank you guys all, and I would like to encourage you. If you guys are watching this event right now, make sure you like it, you share it, and tag the name of any friend that you think they may find value on this event, because we are very passionate about supporting our business community. We are very passionate about giving back to our community. That and now more than ever, we need to stay together. So thank you, Eric. I know you gotta go because you have a meeting, and thank you guys so much once again for making this happen. And this is Morning Coffee with Elio, guys. Remember, if you have any question, make a comment below, and I am sure that we're gonna get back to you. Hey, and do not forget to get your coffee because let me see. I like that, Lori. Thank you very much. Do not forget to take your coffee in the morning because this is Morning Coffee with Elio. Guys, thank you very much. Right now, we are leaving with the intro of our show. It's Elio Piedra, and we're gonna see you on Monday live from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Yes. Guys, thank you very much for watching Morning Coffee with Elio. Yes, we're really looking forward to seeing you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Do not forget to like us and follow us on Facebook and become part of the Morning Coffee with Elio community. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and live full.